So you guys have tuned in to another Office of the Day special, but we have exclusive guests, Mr. CJ Valencia and Mr.
Thank you.
Marco Alcala. CJ Valencia, the stockbroker, the commercial real estate investor, and the big fish graduate. And then Mr. CEO of ACI, the cybersecurity god. What's up, you guys? Introduce yourselves.
CJ, you want to go first?
Yeah, I can go first. Well,
Okay.
thank you for having me, Mark. Um, this is my second appearance, and I'm super excited. My name is CJ. I'm born and raised in Denver, Colorado. I actually met Mark while I was in college out in San Diego. We've been bros ever since. I after college came back to Denver, did a little bit of small business loans, and then got into commercial real estate on the sides of sales, multifamily sales, did some research for a few firms, and then branched off into doing more office work, and that's prior to COVID. And then did office work for about a year and a half to 2 years, and doing office sales, office leasing. And then in the midst of doing commercial real estate, I also learned about stocks and options. So I've been learning that, and it's been a lot. But now I'm starting to get my feet underneath me and starting to make some money and starting to read the charts a lot better. And so my confidence is growing. And so those are the two things that I've been focused on as far as business.
Nice, nice. I love it.
And I am Marco Alcala. I'm Mark Anthony's father. I'm happy to be on your show. It's an honor.
Been a long time.
I know, a long time coming. Um, let's see. I came to California in 1983 after living in Mexico for 14 years. And I discovered that I wanted to study computers. So I went to Santa Monica College to take ESL classes to learn English. And then I transferred to Cal State Northridge, where I majored in computer science. While I was going to college, I was working as an accountant for a group of companies in the entertainment industry. And my responsibilities kept increasing. I kept asking for more and more responsibilities. And eventually I became the head of my department. And then I invented myself another job at that company where it was just, I did it for free. So since I was studying computers, I became a network administrator for the company. So I would do all my accounting work. And, around 6 p.m., I'd start doing the IT work, for free. So I'd be working there for hours, sometimes until 3, 4 in the morning, implementing new systems. And that's because I just, I like this kind of stuff. I love IT. In the summer of 1997, I quit my job and started knocking on doors in Pasadena. I'd be walking up and down Colorado Boulevard all day, knocking on doors, offering my IT services. It took a couple of months before I got my first client, but that's how I got my business started. And probably not the best way of going about starting a new business, just doing it all by yourself. But when you have nothing else, that's better than not trying anything. And I made it work because I've been in business for 25 years. And my business is better now than it ever was. And I'm looking forward to the future and making it better.
And I'll start implementing new sales systems for you. That's why you have Pasadena's Wolf.
That's right.
And I have quite a few questions off of what you just said, and I don't mean to
Please.
take
Please,
over on
take it,
asking
take it,
questions, but
take
this is
it,
the
take
first
it.
time your dad and I have talked. So knowing you, Mark, and then now seeing your dad and listening to your dad, it makes sense, and a lot of things that he does, you probably implement, and I see it. So it's cool. So it makes me, excited, and then a lot of questions, if I may.
Please do. I'm curious to see what you have to ask.
So I want to know what in your accounting job, what made you take the initiative beyond I just like this? Because there's one thing to like something, but it's another thing to say I'm going to take an initiative to go beyond just accounting, and then I'm going to do the IT and I'm going to put this much time in it. So what made you take that initiative?
I wanted to learn it, and it was fun for me. It's still, after, it's been 35 years that I've been playing with IT, and it's still fun. I'm still like a little kid learning about the latest developments. There is so much to know. I mean, it's impossible to know everything, but I'm still fascinated by it. And it didn't matter to me that I wasn't getting paid. I was putting in inordinate amounts of overtime to learn this stuff because it's something that I wanted to know. The day came where I said, well, I just want to do this full time. I want to give up the accounting. Accounting, I got into it because I wanted to learn how to read financial statements. And I knew that at some point I wanted to have my own business. So I took a couple of accounting classes in junior college at Santa Monica College. And in Accounting 101, or actually it was Accounting 1 there, I turned in my project before everybody else, and the teacher goes, "Oh my God, have you thought about working in accounting?" And I go, "No, I mean, I just took this class so that I can know about accounting because I know I'm going to have my business at some point." So she offered me a job, and that's how I ended up working in accounting, just because somebody made me an offer that I never entertained before. I never figured I was going to be working as an accountant. But my heart always made me go in the direction of IT. That's what I truly enjoy. And there's a certain beauty in accounting and knowing how it works, because if you understand that, then you know how to run your business in terms of the financial aspects of it. You know if you're making money or if you're not.
Yeah, and I also want to say to the people, the viewers, don't let that go over your head. He said he was curious about something and then went after it. And so I think that's important for people, whether you're an entrepreneur or looking for a career or a job, is be curious and try new things. And as he said, once he tried the IT, he then became more and more curious and more passionate and realized this is the way I want to go. So it all starts with trying to figure out what you want to do, is figuring out what, when you are curious and then you like something and then going after that. So definitely would take that away from what you just said. And then also my second question and last question is, how did you get the courage to say, I'm going to leave accounting and start my own business now in the timing that you did?
There was no question in my mind that I could provide value to the clients I would eventually have, because I was already doing advanced work, even though I was just staying after hours. I could see that work that other IT consultants were doing and what I was doing. So I could tell that I was right up there with them. And in some cases, I knew more than some of the consultants that come in to provide services for the company that I was working for. So there was no question in my mind that I could do it. And there was no hesitation. So I just went for it. And it was just like believing that I could make it happen. It was just, that's an unwavering belief that I would make it work. That's what got me through. And it wasn't easy because there was no safety net. It's not like I was rich or anything, or I had a lot of financial resources to take me through that transition period. It's very challenging when you just, you leave the only income stream that you have, and then you say, okay, well, I'm going to start my own business, and then you have no money coming in. So that was a difficult transition, but I got through it.
Unwavering belief.
Yeah, I like
Yep.
that. I feel like that's something CJ and I always talk about, is keeping that belief, even if you're not seeing the results right away, because everything's delayed gratification. I mean, look at that example. You said you didn't get your first client till months after knocking doors, and kind of just fell in your lap, but it was because you put those numbers in. It's like what they say when I knock doors for solar. It's like the solar gods rewarded you because you kept going, kept dealt with that rejection, and, overcome it by, getting up every day and still continuing, even knowing that, hey, I might get 1,000 no's today, but, it doesn't matter if I get that one yes at the end of the day.
Yep.
So did you have another question for him?
No, that was all for now. That's all my questions for now.
All right, let's just run us into the next topic then, CJ.
Okay. What do we say? Okay, so we're gonna start discussing how do we best use our time in the midst of COVID, and we're gonna count that as March 2020 till today, and how do we pivot? How do we pivot mindset wise? How do we pivot our careers? Because this is unprecedented time that we've never experienced in any of our lives, regardless of how old you are. And so I kind of wanted to just discuss how did we, have the awareness that things are changing, and then what did we do to make the best of these last 2 years?
Right. I'll take the forehand on this. I think, right before it happened, I had not a shift completely, because I already had like kind of like euphoric shifts before, and visuals as of where my life wanted to go. But then I went out to go see you in Colorado right before it hit, and it kind of just expanded my mind and made me realize that, hey, seeing the mountains and seeing so much land, it's just like, like opportunities are endless. And then we went to go sit floor courtside to go watch the Nuggets, and that kind of expanded my mind too, seeing everybody there. And the tickets weren't expensive because who wasn't playing? Antetokounmpo wasn't playing, right?
Yeah, Giannis wasn't playing.
Giannis wasn't playing, so I don't know. I think it kind of, for me, it shocked me. I was like, whoa, the government wants to keep us in this box. So instead of staying in, I started going out skating, working out more, and then realized, hey, I need to get more streams. I only have 1 or 2 streams of income. And I started this podcast, and I know it's not a stream yet, but it's currency. It's an exchange, it's just a creative side of things and brings light to people. So I just realized that, hey, you have to go for it. And there is no time to do it later. It's, if not now, then when, and you keep putting it off and you keep waiting, and all of a sudden it's just off your list because you let life get in the way. And then, I feel that when we're not productive, we go into this depression state, even if it's like unconscious. So I think it just shifted me and made me realize, hey, I need to start creating content, even if it's not, taking videos of myself, but, start bringing light to all the people that are around me, because I have so much talent around me, including myself. So, that leads back to the self brand that you have, in the sense of, striving to experience life fully, just to go for it and, make the most of every moment. And if you're not making the most of every moment, taking the time to reflect on how you could be. So literally just like how Nike says, just do it.
I'd like to talk about some of the things I saw you do in March of 2020. You would come over to the office, you set yourself up in the conference room, and then you would write down on the whiteboard the things you wanted to accomplish.
Right.
And you decided you were going to help your friend Mary in selling websites, right? So you developed your own scripts of how you were going to approach prospective clients, and you practice that and you practice that. And then you got on the phone and started cold calling businesses in March, when everybody didn't want to spend money because they were freaked out about what was happening in the world, right? So he called business owners, and he would get no.
On the 11th call, on the first day, I got somebody interested, and we closed the deal in the next couple of days. On the 11th call, and I was born on April 11th.
Yeah, so that's an example of what to do when things get difficult. You just decide that you're gonna go forward and make the best of it. And even though people are afraid, you take the courage to take action, to take your life in the direction that you wanna go in. And that's exactly what you did. I mean, it's like, it was amazing. You were closing a deal a week until Mary told you, okay, stop, closing deals because, I don't have the bandwidth right now. And I don't, I want to be able to control the quality of the service. But that was just amazing to me. The level of energy that you put into it and the belief that you could make it happen.
Thanks, Pops. Yeah, it was 4 leads in 4 weeks, just, and then after that, it's like, hey, I'm only one person here. I'm a one-man army. Hold on. But I think you wanted to go into adding in on that.
Yeah, I did want to veggie back on that. Get that? Not piggyback, but veggie back. But anyways,
Veggie back.
but I wanted to also say, Mark really did a good job of. Gary Vee always says, be impatient in the micro, but be patient in the macro. Meaning, every day you got to put in that work, put in that work, put in that work, but understand in the macro, you have to be patient for everything to unfold the way it's supposed to. And so, Mark does a really, really, really good job of putting his mind to something, focusing on it, and then understanding that it may not all play out in this moment, but in the long run, his results will come at some point. And so I think that's something that I've learned from him, because I focus and then I go, and I get upset when I don't see the results right away. And Mark is able to, in the micro focus, but macro understand that it will all happen when it's supposed to happen. So in that period of March, I remember us both calling each other and saying how cold calling's going, and my confidence and ego took a really big hit. And you definitely helped me on my scripts. You helped me understand that no doesn't mean no forever. It means no right now. And so I just really admire you on just being able to keep going in the midst of adversity.
Thank you so much. And I think the biggest thing that helped us was assigning each other literature, So like Exactly What to Say by Phil M. Jones. It's an hour and 20 minutes that changed my life, or Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone, or The Way of the Wolf by Jordan Belfort, See, he's got it right there.
Exactly what to say.
He took a chance. I was like, look, take the chance and get this book on as I'm all right next to him. And that's what it is. And, you know how many people I've told that are in the same kind of, sales kind of thing that didn't want to listen, and look, they're still paying for it now, and that's not to stomp on them, but it's just there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Learn the wheel, and then if you want to reinvent it a little bit, you can, but you have to become that expert level to even, you can't create a whole new wheel when you don't understand how the normal wheel spins. So thank you guys. And who wants to take the next step on how they changed after,
One more thing
Yeah.
on what you taught me. So when I went out, when was that? In August to LA, man, I was so like, it's weird. When you came out here, you felt this like feeling of euphoria and change of mindset. And when I went to LA and we were driving to San Diego and wherever else we went, I was just confused, but like baffled in the best way possible. Cause I was like, man, how are we both in the same feeling like position? And how do you keep going? And then when we woke up, you were playing Big Sean, a motivational YouTube video. Then we were driving, we're listening to books, like constantly having positive affirmations and positive words and all of that. And I've taken that still to this day, where no matter what I'm doing, I'll have either maybe some ocean sounds or some positive music or something. And that was a huge tool that I took from you on being able to, quiet the noise and focus on the positive and continue to go. So I appreciate that as well.
Hey, I learned it from, double MG shit, and just in general, Big Sean. It's just, you don't wake up every day feeling like getting to it, and it's crazy that you brought that up, because I just found out that my dad, because he snores so much, and until he had this surgery for decades, he wasn't really sleeping at night. He was up because his, snoring keeps you up at night, and he wasn't getting his REM sleep. So he just told me that, oh yeah, every day I woke up, you know, listening to the sound of my own voice, or my own snoring, get up at 4 in the morning, drink a cup of coffee, and start the day. I didn't give a fuck that I was tired. But this is decades of not sleeping, or not sleeping fully, or not even getting that full amount of sleep. So you don't wake up positive. You don't wake up, energetic. You have to implement it somehow. The only way you know how is to literally rewire the brain with, it doesn't have to be Big Sean motivation. It could be anybody of your preference. Anybody of your preference, you can find them all online. We have these cell phones and technology for a reason. Sure, there's a lot of distractions on it, but there's a lot of good on it too. If you just how you maneuver through it.
For sure. For sure. I will take the kind of explain how I went about this whole change. And it's actually really interesting because, as I said, I got in officially being a broker March 2020, March 1st. And I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. Office was new. I didn't really know we all didn't know how the office was going to be affected in general. We're so used to everyone going to the office, and then
Right.
COVID hit and people didn't go to the office, didn't know when they were coming back to office. So I really didn't know what to do, how to go about it. So I was told to go stack 650 buildings. And I did that all of March, walking every single building myself. And it was a lot. And I wasn't really sure on the goal of why I was doing that. I was just kind of told to do that. And I'm happy that I did it because it taught me a lot. But I think for me, in the big picture of that time, I was able to, like, my ego was hit, like I said, and I really had to sit down and reflect on who I am and what brings me happiness outside of money. I really think that whatever you believe in my case, God really sat me down and took away financials to make me understand that money is not my worth, and understand what my clear vision for my life really is. And I have other friends that, they got really good paying jobs and they had money and they had access. And so that became a
Right.
distraction because they were able to go and do and as they please, where I didn't have that luxury. And then I now am starting to get out of that period of time, and I'm able to see that there was a lot of beauty in having to sit still, because now I have a plan, now I have a vision, and now most of all, I know my worth outside of money. So I don't need money to make me feel good. I don't need anything really to make me feel good externally. And so this time really was just a great time to read, meditate, yoga, take walks, really just figure out what are those 5 things that I need to do every single day that bring me peace and bring me a clear vision. And this time, really allowed that because things slowed down. And so I really took advantage of that time to really figure myself out outside of being a college student and all that stuff, sports and like everything that I thought my life was, or who I was kind of taken away from me. And now I have a better understanding of who I am and why I'm here. So that's the biggest thing outside of business, everything. I think this time has really forced me to sit with myself.
Yeah, I think beauty in the struggle, and as well, Big Sean always says that the most important work is self work. So, self. How about you? How do you feel like you pivoted, Pops?
During the pandemic? Well, I started making changes before, like a couple of weeks before the pandemic. So, as I was reading about the the effects of the pandemic in China, and how we were expecting it to come to the United States, I had a couple of employees that had pregnant wives, and I had another employee that has a brother that has a compromised immune system. So knowing that the pandemic was coming, and the fact that in our beautiful office, it was very easy for us to infect each other when we had let's say if we had the flu, within a week, everybody would have the flu because it was an open space, a very cool office, we loved it. And that's exactly what we wanted, to work in an open space like that. But the thing is that, if somebody had the flu, everybody would get it. So I was concerned that, if one guy would get it, then the entire team would have it. And then, we were going to put the rest of their family members at risk. So I asked them, what do you guys want to do? We have this pandemic coming our way. You guys want to work from home? What do you want to do? And they said, we want to work from home, Marco. So before the state of California told us that we needed to go home, I sent my people home. So that's the first change I made. And I just said to myself, we're going to make it work. It was something to get used to because, when we were working in the office, everybody was next to each other and we could talk to each other and see what we were doing. And so it took some learning in communicating, over Microsoft Teams and chatting and doing video calls to stay connected and work as a team. And then we spent months helping all of our clients transition from working from the office and moving to working from home. So we were so busy, and it was insane because everybody wanted to go work from home at the same time. So it's like we were getting pounded by phone calls. The phone was ringing off the hook from 7 a.m. until 7 o'clock at night. It was so insane. It just felt like we were getting shot at. I told my guys, I got an Amazon subscription. I told them, go watch the movie 13 Hours because I want you to see how those guys performed. And that's what we're doing right now. So they watched it, they got fired up, and they just kept helping our clients. Have you guys watched that movie, 13 Hours?
I think we watched it together.
Oh, yeah?
I've never seen it.
Yeah, very cool movie. So that's just a couple of examples of changes I made during the pandemic.
Okay, cool. I like that. And, it's cool that you were already aware of what was going on. I mean, most people were, but they saw it as this big joke. And I guess technically I did too, because I made the decision when you were telling me, hey, look, there's this sickness going around and it looks pretty lethal. I was like, I made the decision that God is going to protect me. A mask isn't, and I'm going to have to make it happen regardless. Many people don't agree with that. However, I feel like that's the only way I could survive the pandemic, like personally, just because when I've noticed when I led my life in fear, then fear overcomes it. And then, fear overcomes my willpower. And that's the only reason why I approached it like that. Is that the right approach in the public life? Probably not, but that was mine.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's one thing to be careful, but you don't have to be afraid.
Yeah.
I took the same approach. I was out doing everything as normal as I possibly could, still wear my mask and all that good stuff. When I did get COVID, I was sick for one night, a little tired for a couple of days, but I was able to make it through and kept living my life. I didn't really stop anything, for me at least.
So how do you feel like, as we all have our own brand and business, how do you feel that with what's going on now? I mean, it seems to be getting better, not better, whatever. How do you think that we can implement new systems for growth in the sense of sales, marketing, and, anything in the sense of maybe just, implementing and creating a team? Because you're starting your podcast, I'm pushing him to start his podcast or his content, in regards to cybersecurity and why it's so important. How do you think we can implement our teams to follow in a sense of leading correctly?
I would say, during this time, we had to understand where the world's going. It's never going to be back to how it was.
Mm-hmm.
And so now I think it's about knowing where things are going in the near future. And I think, as you've been really showing and explaining, not only to me, but to your audience, of, okay, people are away from each other, which means that most likely they're on their phones more. Therefore, we need, the new currency is now attention. And
Right.
so I think being able to lead in the sense of, for example, you're leading me in the sense of showing me how to make the podcast, how to get everything digital and not only digital, but how to make it a machine where it's just automatic, like keeping everything going, and it doesn't even have to be money. It's just keep your content automatic, and you can have your YouTube, your TikTok, your Snapchat, your Instagram, and it can all feed into one another. And so I think for me, implementing what you've been showing me, and me also looking and just seeing those that are doing what you're talking about, I'm now, like I said, now I have my self stuff, looking to drop that before March close, and then the podcast, and then keep going. Actually, two different podcasts, and so I'm now taking what I've learned and now implementing that with my team to put as much content and good content out.
Right, right. And what are you going to do to make sure you stay consistent?
Well, actually, so I have this new, well, it's not necessarily new, but it's new to me, a new planner that explains my yearly goals, my 3-month goals, and then my weekly goals.
Perfect.
And so, for example, one of my 5 goals is to drop one self clothing drop, and at least three podcast episodes. And so I read that every day, and I see what I need to do to make those happen. So, like, for example, I met with Terrence, my bro that I'm doing the self show with, and we meet probably weekly or every other week, explaining what are the little incremental steps that we have to do by the end of this week to get this closer to launch. And so I need to get some tables and chairs. I need to get a sign. And so just being able to check in and making sure, like, every week something's done, so that I don't just let it fall by the wayside.
I like that. I love that a lot.
I have a question for you, CJ, if I may.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How do you see yourself evolving as a stockbroker in this current environment, and maybe over the next couple of years?
Yeah. So so with the knowledge that I've learned, I really understand and believe that as someone that trades stocks, I see myself being able to have weekly income, and my personal goal is to pay off my debts with my stock trades, and then once I pay that off, then I'll be able to do some long-term investments in the sense of taking my profits and putting it into real estate. And so now I'm starting to see, and I have some mentors that have shown me how they've done it. And so that's my goal, is to create something. And it really is crazy, because the only reason why I got into it was because of COVID, and being at home, and then understanding, man, I'm getting so many no's in the cold calling. And then I realized, okay, well, this, I can, if I study hard enough, I can understand that I don't have to deal with clients. And so I think that the stock market's not easy, but I think it's a myth that it's quote unquote impossible or super, super risky.
Right.
And so now that I understand what I'm looking at, now I can say, okay, my goal is to make, let's just call it $100 today. Cool. I make that $100. If I make $100, give or take, every day, by the end of the week, I should have money to then pay $500 to my credit card. And so that's what I see myself doing, is paying off my debts, then saving my money to then go buy real estate, and then keep buying. And for example, my actual mentor, she started trading options specifically. She was in shares for years, but she started trading options probably 2 years ago. And she was making 6 figures at her job. Once she figured out and got comfortable, she was able to figure out how to take her 401k out, and she started trading that. Well, just as of yesterday, she closed in the last year, so a year from today, she actually closed on her 14th property.
Jeez.
And mind you, she's a single mother. She left her job so that she could focus on this, and she's focused enough to buy 14 properties. So now she has passive income, not only from real estate, but she also gets dividends from other stocks. She's making 40,000 minimum a day. I mean, I'm seeing it. It's not, oh, I think maybe. No, she shows me her profits every day. So that being said, she's leading me and she's showing me what she's seeing. And so this is a skill that I can do anywhere, any day, and forever. And that's the big thing for me is like in the real estate game, as a broker specifically, you know, there's a lot of different things for one deal to go through. Probably 6 different things need to go well, and if one of the 6 fall through, the deal's done.
Yeah.
And so that
Yeah.
kind of showed me, okay, well, I want to figure out something that I can do outside of, I don't need any external, one thing could go wrong, and depend on someone else. You know, like it's one thing to find clients, but the accounting, and I've told Mark this, for me, I closed deals 6 months ago and just got paid a week ago.
Yeah.
I don't want to deal with that anymore. That doesn't mean I don't want to be a broker, because I do. I actually am probably going to move into development, affordable housing. And I have a buddy that's a developer, and in this new infrastructure bill, if it passes, there's a there's a little loophole where they're trying to incentivize minority developers. And so what that means is minority developers can go to the government and get government contracts to build affordable housing. So I would put up 25% of the project, and then the government would give me 70, the remainder 75, and then I'd go build it, and I would get a developer fee, 5%, 7% of the total cost to do the project. And so all that to say is I want to start with my stocks and then branch out to real estate as an investor slash broker.
And this is what I'm going to add in on that, because, you know, with the stock market, it's reliable, it's not reliable. It's, you know, it's crazy, right? But in the mix of all the knowledge that you're taking in, you need to be writing it out, you know, perfecting it or not perfecting it, because obviously it's not perfect, right? But then become an educator on the side of YouTube, Skillshare, and this will ensure that even, let's say you lose $100 per day, you know, but you continue to educate people on how to do it, and you show them, you know, in complete transparency. People are going to like it, people are going to follow it, people are going to subscribe to it, and then you can have your own class. And like how we were discussing yesterday, you know, and that's as well going to take you to the next level and put back money back into, you know, any debts you may have or any long-term investments you want to get into. You know, it's just going to create an extra funnel, an extra stream. And that's ultimately what we want to show people, that you don't have to be limited to 1 or 2 streams of income. You can make multiple streams of income. How are you going to do it? Whatever you're passionate about and you become an expert on, you can educate others, and, you know, people will find you. The game of online, there's endless amounts of opportunity. It's just a matter of finding it and pushing it to people that are looking for it.
CJ, can you share some tips about how you go about mitigating risk when you're looking at
I like that.
the investments that you're going to go after in the stock market?
Yeah, so that's the most important thing, is risk management when it comes to stock trading. Any trading, if you're trading crypto, you're trading futures, whatever, it's about mitigating your risk. And that's actually something that I learned the hard way. Like I've had probably 3 instructors, and they've all said, you know, you need to have a higher risk to reward ratio, 4 to 1, 2 to 1, whatever that may be. And so I didn't understand what that meant until I blew up my account. It wasn't a lot of money, but, you know, losing any amount of money is not fun. And so it's a little hard to explain without showing you on a chart. But what I do is, and I actually just wrote out my trading plan. And what I do to mitigate my risk is to look at the chart and understand where is a good entry. And so you want to buy, as I say, buy low, sell high. And so what that means is when you fall to a support, so when a stock is falling and it falls to a support, if you get in at a support, you then know that your risk is, if it falls below the support, and for me right now, it's 15%. So if it falls and I'm down 15%, I get out. But the chances of it falling anymore are pretty low, because I know I've looked to the left, aka in the past, and saw this line holds. So what I do is I set a stop loss that's 15% below the support. And then I know that this is a support. So where's my next resistance? Where is it going to go up to? And let's just say it's $10. Okay, well, my risk to reward is pretty good, because my risk is down here. I'm at the floor. Unless we go to the basement, which is 15%, I'll lose that. But my upside is 60%. or 40% or 30%. So let's just say 30%.
Right.
So my reward is 30%, my risk is 15%. So I have a 2-to-1 ratio. And so that's really understanding the charts and understanding how to mitigate your risk. So let's just say, right? Let's say I lose this trade, I lose 15%. Okay, I go another one. I lose another 15%. Okay, this one I won. Well, I just won 30%. So now I made up what I lost in 2 trades. In 1 trade, I made it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And you're doing all your risk mitigation is based on the charts. I mean, do you do any research on the company itself, or how does that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah. So that I'm more so speaking about day trading, and that's just
Okay.
in and out. That's kind of how you want to build your account. If you have a small account, you want to, do small trades and get in and out. As far as long trades, I'm like I said, I'm a part of a few different groups, and so a few of the groups, there's people that have been doing this for years, and so they'll let us know on which companies are good, bad, and then we have to do our research on understanding why these companies are good and bad. And so, for example, one of my instructors, he preaches very long-term investing and understanding that Apple, Google, and Microsoft are almost bulletproof, almost. And so understanding what they do and finding other businesses that do similar things. For example, Apple has the most cash reserves out of any company at all. And so finding other companies that are in the similar vein and holding a lot of cash, just in case anything goes wrong. And so it's really doing your due diligence on companies that are good, and then finding more affordable companies like that share the same business practices, if that makes sense.
Yep.
How do you separate the emotional side of things? Because for most people that day trade, when they first start off, they're emotionally attached, and that's like the biggest problem with trading. I know you say with risk management, you have your X amount or 15% when you want to get out or get in. But we are human after all. How have you been, doing that?
So I will tell you this: I and anyone else could tell you, just understand that you're going to lose money, right? Okay, that works. The only way that you'll fully understand how to control your emotions, and you won't, you're a human, your emotions will always be intact. And the way that I learned it was by losing and understanding, like now I trade with my mom, and sometimes I'll lose and I'll just get out and understand, what did I do wrong? And so a lot of the times, if I can find what I did wrong, my emotions are like, okay, I lost here, I stayed in the trade, I said my stop loss was this. In a way, I deserve to lose because I didn't see this. And so I think for me, it's understanding that it's not about winning or losing. It's about being consistent is what it's about. It's not about, I mean, if you're losing consistent, obviously you're doing something wrong, but it's about being consistent and saying, okay, if this hits 15% down, I'm out. I don't care if it bounces. I don't care where it goes. And it's creating a system. You have to create a system, and all the best traders have a system. The system doesn't work 100% of the time. It probably doesn't even work 60% of the time. But if you can have a system that you can continue to track, then you can mitigate your emotions. And another thing that I would say is paper trade, which is trading with fake money. That's a huge thing on being able to trade with fake money, see what you see. If you see something where you're going to make profit, play it, see if it works. And once you do that, your confidence will build and you'll be less upset when you lose. Because I think it's your emotions freak out because you're like, why did I lose? But if you understand why you lost anything in life, if you understand why you failed and you can correct that, then your emotions will begin to, callous a little bit, where you can be like, okay, I lost, yeah, but why? And once you can answer that question, your emotions become a little bit more controlled, at least when it comes to trading.
I like that. I like that response a lot. It just comes back down to understanding, being able to dissect and see where you went wrong. And I mean, truly, obviously, I mean, I follow Meet Kevin, and sometimes you don't even go wrong. It's just the stock market takes a crap, right?
And it happens. It's one of those things where, especially right now, the market's it's it's so indecisive. But it's also just understanding that the market can do whatever the market wants to do. all you can do is do your best and mitigate your risk. That's all you can do.
Right.
And I'm okay with the market doing what it wants to do, because when I'm right and I hit big. And as long as when I lose, my loss is mitigated and it's not as big as my win. And that's what it's about, is winning, 100% and then losing 20%. So if you keep doing that over and over and over and over, you're going to be up.
I agree.
And are you also trading options at this time?
Yeah, so I actually solely trade options until I can get my account to $10,000. Once I get $10,000, then, and the only reason why I want to get $10,000 is because that will allow me to make a daily amount that I'm comfortable with. And then as I make more profit, I'm gonna keep going into shares. Like I said, Apple, Microsoft, and Google, which Google just did a 120-to-1 split. So get some Google. And
Get
I
some
think it's,
Google.
yeah, get some Google for sure. And there's a couple others that I'm getting into. I'm really thankful to have mentors that have been in the game, so they've really helped me in understanding the shares aspects of businesses and why you want to buy shares and hold them for 20 plus years. And another key thing with shares, in some broker accounts, if you have enough money, let's just call it $100,000, you can get actually a line of credit from your shares. So if you have $100,000 in, let's call it Apple shares, you can take that money. So you're your own bank, take that money, go put it down on a property, and your shares will keep going up and up and up and up. So that's also a little trick when it comes to shares, and what I want to do in the aspect of, be my own bank and have my own credit line of credit from myself. And all this takes time.
Right.
But
Right.
being able to have the vision and the guidance is what I'm most focused on. And as I keep doing it, I'll be able to, hopefully at some point on the podcast later down the road say, yeah, well, I actually just bought my first property against my own shares. So I borrowed from myself.
Yeah, and I think that's the, perfect plug now to go into a little bit of crypto because, as opposed to the stock market, maybe just because I lost and then I was able to win my earnings back with Dogecoin. And it's because I wasn't doing enough research and due diligence. I did a couple option trades, right? And just like everybody, I had to learn the hard way that, you got to keep your emotions out and be patient. But as well, I put a timestamp of it of just a week and a half out. So I lost. But thankfully with Dogecoin, it saved me and made everything back plus like an extra 500. So what's your guys' take on crypto? I'm going to ask my father here a little bit of how we protect our crypto wallets. But what's your take on crypto so far? Because I know you're deep in the stock market right now. What have you been looking on crypto?
So crypto, this is why I think it's the most beautiful thing to just understand. It doesn't matter what you trade. If you can understand a chart, you can trade
Right.
futures, you can trade crypto, you can trade stocks, you can trade anything. And so as far as my crypto knowledge is low, but I can read a chart. So I could tell you when I would get in and when I don't. The only thing that I am a little unsure about when it comes to crypto is actually how to make the trade and which broker to use and not use. But I'm a huge fan of crypto as I do more and more research. And I think that it's going to really put the power in the people. And I think that, the powers that be are going to try to stop it from decentralizing money. But I personally don't think that it's possible to stop this wave. It's already, it's already coming. So I think it's a great way to not only make money, but make investments and have take your money and be able to have ownership in other companies. Which, the only way to do that was to get in the stock market. But now with crypto and NFTs and all that good stuff, now you can have ownership into brands. And for example, Mark or Marco, if you have, you have a brand that's really big, I could have ownership in that and not have to really, do anything for that and just give you the money, support you, and then I get a kickback from that. So I think it just creates a lot of access for people that haven't had access to investments. What are your thoughts on crypto?
I think there's a lot of opportunity to make money there. Even there's a lot of volatility that scares people. I think, it's good to start playing with it, even if it's just with a few $100s, just to learn how to trade it and just to keep track of what's happening in crypto. So like, for instance, Bitcoin is super interesting because there's a limited amount of Bitcoin. And once all the coins have been minted, there's not going to be any more. And it can only go up in price. There's pros and cons about it, right? You have the people, the detractors that are saying, well, it's just a big Ponzi scheme, and they have a point, right? But it's just like anything else, the stock market is also a Ponzi scheme. The US currency is a Ponzi scheme. So all these things are, some of them are illegal and some of them are illegal, right? But it's good to trade in cryptocurrency and keep them for the long term. Just like I think it's also good to keep mutual funds for 30, 40 years, because, if you have a mutual fund that covers the entire stock market, it's going to go up in value over 30 or 40 years based on what we've seen in the past. And people can accumulate wealth without even thinking about it. If they just consistently put money away like that, it's going to grow and it's going to compound, using compound interest to their advantage. So I'm not an expert in crypto. I have a few $100s here and there, and some of the altcoins. And it's interesting to see how my wallet goes up and down because of the volatility. But the one thing I want to say, if you have a lot of money in crypto, you should have a hardware wallet. Don't keep it in an online wallet or a hot wallet, as they're called, because we read about these hacks that happen so often. Just a couple of months ago, an altcoin exchange got hacked for about $350 million. And there was an article on the Wall Street Journal a couple of days ago talking about a couple that stole $4.5 billion in Bitcoin in 2016. So, I mean, these hacks happen all the time. They're always in the news. So that worries me about having, if I had a lot of money in crypto, I wouldn't keep it in an online wallet. I would keep it in a hardware wallet so that it's something that I have. I have the recovery passphrase kept in a safe place. And also it's impossible to do a trade without the hardware wallet. So that would be the one recommendation that I have.
And to go a little further, not explaining the full thing, but can you explain the difference between a hot wallet and a cold wallet, in the sense of obviously you don't want to be hacked, but how would you go about doing that? Like, what does that look like? What does a hot wallet look like, and what does a cold wallet look like?
Yeah, so the hot wallet is just an online account. Let's say that you have an account with Coinbase, right? And you keep your crypto there. So that's a hot wallet. You do the trades directly from there. And but if somebody hacks your account, let's say if somebody figures out how to bypass multi-factor authentication, which you should have turned on all your applications, then they'll be able to take your money. And there was a recent hack. I don't remember the name of the exchange, but somebody figured out how to bypass the two-factor authentication by doing a password reset, and they emptied the hot wallets or the online wallets of a bunch of people that had their money there. So they ended up losing, hundreds of thousands of dollars per subscriber. So that's the hot wallet. It's online. It's it's like a website that you log on to, and not a safe thing to have if you have more than a few $100s. Yeah, because the hardware wallets sell anywhere from $100 to $300, some of them $400. But if you have enough money, you use a hardware wallet. And the hardware wallet is just a piece of hardware, you know, it looks like a fob that stores your private key in there. And some of them allow you to connect that device to the computer to authorize trades. You have to push a button and then it authorizes the trade. There are other types of hardware wallets where it's completely air gapped. You never connect it to the computer. You know, some of them look like a calculator and you enter your password there. They you know, there's one, I think it's called I can't remember the name of it. Maybe Cold Card, something like that. It's a Canadian company. It looks like a calculator and even has a duress pin. So if somebody knows that you have a lot of, that particular one works with Bitcoin. So if they knew that you had a lot of Bitcoin and they wanted to get the password from you, you can enter the duress pin and open a different wallet that has not all your money, but it's just a wallet to distract the bad guys. Or you can enter another code that when it fries the device, it bricks it, and then the bad guys wouldn't be able to get to your Bitcoin. So that's the difference between the hot wallets and the hardware and the cold wallets. Cold wallets being the hardware devices and the hot wallets being the ones online.
Wow, I love that.
And I want to make it clear to those that are listening that you can have the cold wallet trade and then take it off of online and hold it, you know, have it in the hardware. Because I think, at least when I first heard of a cold wallet, I was like, how do I trade with it? But all you're doing is, like he said, put it in the computer, trade or buy or whatever you want. And when you take it off, now you have it with you and no one can hack it. And I have a question. So if, as the prices are going up and down, it will go up and down on your cold wallet too, right?
It will, yeah, because you're you wouldn't have to be connected for, you know, for the price to go up and down, because it depends on the trading activity. So basically what it allows you is to maintain ownership of those coins. Basically you have the private key. Without that private key, no trades can be done. And this is just for security reasons. So when you have an online wallet, the private key is stored up there in the cloud. So, and there isn't any system out there that's impenetrable. So eventually they're going to hack that exchange and get the private key. And once they have the private key, they can empty your account.
Sheesh. And that's the thing, you know, just having it stored, and just like anything, right? Everything's hackable to a certain extent, but with this, you know, would you say it's like 99.9% safety? You said without that key, for sure, they're not able to trade for you.
Yeah, because you have the private key in your possession. So most of the hardware wallet manufacturers will claim that you can connect the hardware device to your PC to do a trade, and the private key cannot leave the hardware device.
So the only way is if somebody steals it from you then.
Now, you know, I don't think it's impossible, but you're reducing the amount of risk because
Right.
you're only connected for a little bit. And, you know, what I would do, being aware of all the hacks that happen every day, I would probably have a dedicated computer that is only used for trading. I wouldn't use it for any other purpose, or a virtual machine that is just used for trading. And that's the only time when I would use that hardware wallet. And then I think that greatly reduces the amount of risk that you face and somebody grabbing your private key to empty your account.
Very informative. I love it.
Thank you.
Where are we going to next? We have a couple minutes here, probably like 10-15 minutes still.
I have a question that has nothing to do with what we were talking about.
Next topic, baby.
But this kind of goes, you know me, I'm all about self-improvement. And so I wanted to ask you guys, and not necessarily goals, but I think oftentimes we think about money and houses and property and cars and all that good stuff. But lately I've been asking myself, and I want to ask you guys both this, is what does a fulfilling life look like to you? Whether that's today or tomorrow, but what does a fulfilling life look like? Not and that could be money, it could not be, but what does that look like to you individually?
Providing for, our family, providing for a family in Colombia, and giving opportunities after, with my family in Colombia and Mexico, giving opportunities to my loved ones, and being able to help them chase their dreams. I think ultimately fulfillment comes from giving and providing, and, giving people the opportunities that they never had before, creating, whether it's a school or creating, just being able to give food back, or just creating and fulfilling other people's lives and giving them the opportunities that, I've been so fortunate to have.
What does that look like specifically? Like it doesn't have,
Specifically,
like one example. Obviously there's a lot, but like
right.
specifically, what does that look like for you? Providing and all that good stuff. What does that look like?
After helping my family in Colombia, in the sense of allowing them to travel, whether it's here or wherever they want to travel to, for one, building a hospital in Colombia, in Barranquilla, Colombia, a hospital where they have beds for people to sleep on, medicine for them to be able to uptake. What else does it look like? Having a nonprofit like no other, where, kids can go and to a building where they can go and have food, have shelter, or maybe not even shelter, just go and, play basketball, play baseball, having, you know, uh, educators there to help them learn with school. Not everybody has parents where they went to school and had all the opportunities or had all the education. So giving, people security, and, being able to actually, teach, and or not even teach, just giving a space in Pasadena for kids to go to. Kids, first kids, because they're the future, they're the now. Giving them the opportunity to go like a boys and girls club, but it's kind of safety, but with more knowledge on the back end, and being able to take them and expand their horizon. So something like that, and more specific, I need to get and actually write out, because I haven't done that for a while. Excuse me. But yeah, how about you?
For me, at this point in my life, it's all about being in touch with my kids and spending time with them, with my family and friends, enjoying their company, doing what, learning more about what I can do to help so that they can achieve their goals. Um, this is, I'm evolving, right? Because just to give an example, when I started my business, I was super busy, right? I had to do everything. So I was working all kinds of hours a day, and I wasn't really around that much for my kids or my wife, you know. So that's definitely not a good thing, because, when you're talking to people that are on the deathbed, they never talk about all the money they made or the things they bought. None of that matters. They're just talking about their family and friends. That's the only thing that really matters, right? um, and so for me, what it looks like is, being able to help my family, my friends, spend time with them, and just enjoying times. Like, right now I'm doing something with you guys, and it just feels good. It's not about money. um, it's just about enjoying life, and doing something that it's going to help ourselves and others, and just changing people's lives.
How about you,
Yeah.
CJ?
Um,
I like that.
I'm actually gonna write this down
Okay.
later today. So I can't give a specific answer, but I've had it in my mind for a while, but it's very much so on the same track that you guys are talking about. And I think a fulfilling life is to have control of my time and having the option of how I want to spend it.
Right.
Um, and that's just there, and then understanding how I'm going to spend that time. And obviously with my family, with my future family. Um, so right now, I can tell you a fulfilling life right now looks like having control of my time and empowering minority kids.
Right. That's something we
Um,
talked about on our first podcast.
yeah. And I have, ideas, and that's why I asked you specifically, because I think oftentimes we may have ideas, but if it's not really written out on what does this framework actually look like, I think it can just become very vague and gray area. And so I think it's important to say this is what it looks like. Whether in the future it looks like that is a whole nother story. But at least you have a direction of this is where I'm going, and then life can make it look a little greener or red or purple or whatever. But as long as you have a somewhere a direction that you're going and you can see it, I think it'll happen. And so that's as far as I can go as to specifically what fulfillment looks like to me. I think money is not the goal. I think time and the money allows you to have that time. Um, at least if you're getting money for the right reasons.
Right. And I think that that's so true too, because in Big Sean's motivation video, he's like, we have to be clear on when we focus on, let's say, he says specifically, uh, you know, you focus on wanting a new car. There's a difference between wanting a new car and knowing the car is yours, right? So being clear and specific exactly on what you want and where you want to go. And he says it too. He still journals every day. So implementing, journaling every day and self-reflection, what you want, how you could have done better in the day, making sure to spend that time. I've only been doing it like once every 2 weeks. I've been lacking because I've been busy, or I've been telling myself I'm busy creating content and knocking from doors from 12 to 6 and then coming home eating. Thankfully my girlfriend cooks for me because I'm too lazy to cook at the end of the day, but just putting time into elsewhere. But writing it out is really what's gonna make it, puts it in your brain, and you remember it, and then you reread it, and then you have a clear vision on what you want to do specifically. Just like anything else, even like typing, you don't get the same feel and the same remembrance or the same memory towards it. But even for me, like typing out when I first was framing the podcast, like the vision of the podcast, it's very powerful to write and to know exactly what you want, because how you said, if it's not specific, eventually it's just going to get lost. But I think why maybe I haven't taken the time to write it out again or get very specific is because I'm still figuring out myself and how to get there fully to myself. I can't help others or help my family if I can't help myself first,
That's a fact.
you know?
That's an absolute fact.
So I think, that's something we all should improve on, making sure that we write out specifically where we want to go, and, being consistent on the planner to make sure nothing falls through the cracks, because in the mix of life, there's so much stuff going on and it's very easy to let things fall through.
Absolutely. And that's, accountability with oneself, and also, having you guys to hold me accountable and I hold you guys accountable. And just having a community makes it a lot better. Like when you go to the gym by yourself is way different than if you go with a buddy.
Right.
True.
Right.
So I think as we do it together, and I actually have, it's wild. Life has, positioned me with quite a few people, men and women, that are on the same journey. Well, they're on their own journey, but going in the same direction.
Right.
And so being able to have a community and unity to go the same direction helps, and I think alleviates stress of, oh, I'm not doing enough, or all this noise that goes around in your brain. When you have a community, there's a lot more focus.
Yeah, and the biggest thing too, what you said, is accountability. I feel that it helps, and it's good to surround yourself with like-minded people, whether they're on the similar path or the same mindset. Because again, we have our own path. We all have our own separate paths, but keeping each other accountable. It's so key, first with yourself, but then after, having the people surround you with that positive, all the positivity, and pushing and reminding you, hey, you know, you didn't make enough sales last week, or just because you didn't have a good week last week doesn't mean that's going to be the same notion for this week. So
Facts. I want to leave off with a book that you recommended me and actually changed my life, and I haven't finished it, but I'm gonna start rereading it. The Slight Edge by Jeff Olson.
oh
That
yeah,
book is insane.
the slight edge.
Insane. Definitely reread it, read it. If you haven't, buy that book. I was in the shower, and in the shower you have amazing thoughts. And I was actually gonna create a group chat with 5 of my buddies, have them get the PDF or the book, and then maybe bi-weekly we just discuss a chapter or two and understand how we implemented what we got from the book. So you will look for a text in a group chat real soon.
Yeah, and for any of you guys that are listening, I do have the PDF file. For now, I won't charge. So, email me or I'll leave all the description down below. If you guys want this book, it's super cool. It's the easiest read you can ever read. Or if you have an Audible and you have some credits, go type in the Slight Edge. It'll come up right away. Do you have any book recommendations for us, Baller?
A book recommendation. Let's see. Any topic in particular? Just
Anything
business?
that's impacted you in a huge way.
I would say the E-Myth by Michael Gerber would be one.
Ooh, the E-Myth. What one was that about? That sounds so familiar.
Michael Gerber talks about how you have to implement systems for your business so that your business can run by itself. So that you're not working in the business all the time, so that you're working on the business to create something that runs like a machine, building SOPs, standard operating procedures.
Oh, and while we're on that, you need to message Theodore to what you taught him today to make a SOP for that for the next person that gets hired.
Yeah, I documented it.
Oh, you did?
I did already.
Oh man, this guy is speedy. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, we're pretty big about documentation. So
Man, I'm sorry to interrupt. I saw him on the phone and he was teaching his new employee this, and I was about to be like, hey, message him right now that he needs to make an SOP for this right after this call.
I took screenshots of everything I did and I put them in the resolution section of that service request.
Nice.
He said big CEO vibes for years.
Big CEO for 2 decades and a half, bruh. Man, the book I've been actually reread this twice through Audible, so I re-listened to twice in the past month. The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Watts. It's so amazing. It's not just him talking about getting rich, financially. It's mentally. It starts in the head first. If you want to get up and go shower, you have to literally imagine yourself getting up to go shower. You have to see it happen before it does. And it just goes back on. I was talking about this to my dad on the way back from the airport, and I was like, Dad, you've read the book The Science of Getting Rich by Wallace D. Watts. He was like, dude, I used to read that to you before going to bed when you were a kid.
That's wild.
I was like, so this is why when he says certain things in the book, I remember it. Like if I wrote it, I'm like, are you serious? Like, I just had a flashback after you said that now, remembering this. He was like, yeah, I would read this to you. So it's super powerful, super impactful, and you guys won't regret listening to it. It literally is just going to open your brain and mind. Fuck you.
I'm going to listen to that book on Audible again.
It's so powerful. Yeah, it's I don't know. It's beyond this world, really. It just takes you to another dimension when you listen to it.
I have that on my Audible right now, and I will listen to it when I go to the gym.
There we go. You see, that's something that I love about CJ. I make a book recommendation. All right, bro. I have it in the cart. I already bought it, bro.
I'm so impressed that you're doing that because I like to go to the gym and listen to podcasts or videos that are on YouTube. I feel so good that I'm working out, working on my health, and also nurturing my brain. So by the time I get out of the gym, I feel great, both physically and mentally. So it just feels like I made such good use of my time, and I'm fired up when I leave the gym like that.
Yeah, a healthy body leads to a healthy mind. That's what we
Mind, body,
like.
soul.
That's what we like.
Sorry, I'm trying to get our video up. It's still waiting. It's like, I swear, some of these platforms are trying to stop me from reaching the millions of people that we need to reach already.
But they won't.
They
They won't.
You want to know why? Because we're gonna keep at it. Forget them.
Yeah.
Which video is it?
It's pretty much this one. I ended it a little bit early. I was recording us through the phone,
The Zoom?
not through Zoom, through Cindy's iPhone. Anyways, it's waiting. I don't know. It's on crack right now. It's taking its sweet time. But you guys have tuned in to another Office of the Day special with CEO Alcala, Marco Alcala, and CEO, self stockbroker, commercial real estate investor, and educator and motivator, CJ Valencia. Is there anything you guys want to end off with?
I want to say shout out to the Pasadena Wolf. Big brr. Big brr. Give us one of these when we sign out, Mark.
Oh, papi chulo rico.
Well, thank you guys. I had a great time. Thanks for having me. It was great being here.
All right,
Yeah,
you
thank
guys.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
CJ, I'm gonna hit you in a little bit, man.
For sure. For sure. I'm about to go get that nice little pump in.
All right, enjoy. Let me know what you think of the book.
Will do. Will do. Y'all have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to strive and to experience life fully.
Always, always.
Que tenga buen día.
Usted también.
Muchas gracias.